This episode is brought to you by CBS. DMV is a brand new workplace comedy turning misery into magic and chaos into comedy. Starring Harriet Dyer and Tim Meadows, DMV is here to serve you laughs. Watch Mondays at 8:30, 7:30 Central on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. I'm Mark Pfeffer. Today, I'm speaking with Purbita Banerjee. She's a Senior Vice President and Head of Product Management at Korn Ferry. We're going to talk about the dynamics of today's workforce, labor shortages in HR tech, and, of course, skills, all on this edition of People Tech. Purbita, thanks for being here. So, I was looking at some of the research that you've done about the labor market in technology, and how is the sort of tension that's going on in the labor market impacting HR technology providers? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. It is a big part of what I do every day. So one of the big parts of my job is to look over the horizon and think about what are the big macroeconomic micro trends that are going to impact Fortune 1000 companies globally and its impact on talent acquisition, talent management practices. So as I've been watching this, as I like to call it, the job market riddle, because we're seeing this sort of tension between, especially in tech and IT, there is still a severe shortage of critical skills and critical jobs. But we're also hearing news of top companies in tech laying off people. If you step back and actually look at the balance of the scales, there's still at a high level in the labor market, I'll take the US example, 10 million jobs are getting created every month, even if that reduces a little bit. And only 6 million of those are getting filled, right? There's still a severe shortage. 40 million jobs are going unfilled. We continue to see the Great Resignation still taking effect. So another 4 million jobs are also, people are quitting 4 million jobs. So that tension continues to exist. And I believe a lot of the big companies are watching on what is going to happen. So the impact on HR tech providers is similar. It's being watchful and seeing where this will take us. I don't think that there's an immediate impact because, especially in the talent acquisition space, the HR tech vendors are still getting that pressure on helping support closing these big, critical, jobs that are still unfilled. There is a severe pressure on ensuring that the people that remain and also, employees that are going through this, career cushioning, right? They're watching and they're also worried on what's going to happen. Companies need to invest in their current people or the people that are going to be part of the winning strategy for the future. And so that part of HR tech, which is, the talent life cycle of employees within the organization, continues to take precedence. So I think that part of the market, will continue to flourish. Would there be some fiscal prudence that companies are going to take, which might impact a little bit in terms of growth of HR tech providers? We'll wait and watch. It's possible, right? As there is some economic slowdown.
So what are these companies supposed to do about all this?
So, I think about companies maybe falling in three different, buckets in the spectrum of being, highly risk averse to more risk taking. So let's look at maybe companies that have already laid off people. Okay. So those companies are in a very interesting position. And I don't believe all of that is economically driven, right? So in fact, in this year alone in the tech sector, there's been 80,000 layoffs so far. It sounds like a big number. But a lot of that is driven by transformation that companies have taken. So, be it Meta or Twitter, there were other reasons. Maybe it's signaling something, right? So if digital ad spend goes down, it's probably signaling some sort of a, less spend on digital ads. So there's signals, but largely it's about a new business model that Meta or Twitter are looking at, and they are almost removing a big part of the business, right, to be able to take it into a new direction. And that's a big part of the 80,000 layoffs that have happened. But any company that is in that bucket still has to now focus and reinvest in the people that they have today, because the whole belief is that the people they have remaining are the ones that are going to take them to success. They still need to fill back critical positions that they would have lost in all of this, because after any such layoff, there's a lot of regrettable turnover that happens, with top talent just being disengaged because of the situation around them. And companies have to think about backfilling. So for them, I think the focus and the priority should be on reinvesting in the people that they have, communicating and helping them understand what their roles are now in the new direction that their companies are going to take. For those that are in the cost-cutting, cautious, stage, I would say kind of the middle of the spectrum, I think their focus needs to be on understanding the talent that they have. I feel very concerned when companies just almost like cut off a pound of flesh and let them go. And, when you're taking axing a huge section of the business, you lose so many people that could bring really critical skills and experiences and knowledge for your future. So, what's really important for any companies that may be just watching and understanding what their strategy needs to be, they should invest in understanding what skills they have, go through an exercise of, where are people, what are their skills profile, what are the knowledge and experiences they bring to them, understand their business strategy as it's going to evolve, and who are those critical people that are going to take them to the future. Let's not lose the people that are important to them, right? And then the third bucket, I would say, are companies that are opportunistic, because there is an opportunity in all of this and picking up, really valuable talent, because we all know how competitive it was over the last few years in grabbing top talent. And I don't think that's going to go away. Even if there's a slowdown, it's going to come back, right? You will be in the same war for talent to try and get the top people. So the really smart, opportunistic companies are going to take a step back, think about how they're going to transform and actually bring in the right talent, which is what actually, if you look at Amazon, Google, and some of the big companies, what they're doing, while they are cost cutting in some areas and showing fiscal prudence, they continue to hire. The number of hires that they're making still continues to increase. I think that's a telling sign too, that this is maybe a time to really think about what kind of talent you want for the future and then investing.
So, my question was, what should these companies be doing? You were just talking about that. So are they actually doing it?
So I think, again, it's a shared responsibility, between HR tech providers, consulting firms, and I come from Korn Ferry, so and companies, right? It's a shared responsibility to think about it in a different way. I think in the last recession and then even the COVID pandemic time, I saw a pretty good section of companies that did this, right? So they were smart about investing in their talent, and that actually caused a huge shift, right, in just the employer-employee relationship. And I did see many progressive companies really take it on and make that shift and really, focus on employee experience, focus on job seeker and candidate experience, and make the shift from, I'm going to demand XYZ things to, here's what the employee is asking for, the candidate is asking for. So I remain optimistic that even in this situation, that there is the right intent, that talent leaders, heads of HR, heads of talent management are going to want to continue to invest. However, as I said, it's this, right now, the place we are in is a little bit like a riddle. Maybe people are going to wait and watch a little bit to jump headlong and making investments if there is a, fiscal prudence expected. I do see people being a little wary of making big investments right now in talent. And I think, as I said, it's a shared responsibility. So, we need to educate them that this is actually the right time to invest in people that you have. Because if you wake up after a year and feel like, okay, now I need the right talent, you're gonna miss the boat.
You've said that, and I'm shifting gears a little bit, but you said that one challenge that employers face is the sheer number of learning choices that are faced by workers. Could you talk about that?
Yes. So I call it the problem of plenty. So think about a few years ago, there was a lot of talk about how employees want to learn. And so enterprises and HR tech providers went into this overdrive of making content accessible to learners.
Faith in the news media has been challenged, making it even harder to get stories told. The Friday Reporter podcast was created to help audiences better understand the media by hosting journalists who will answer the questions to which we need answers. Join me every Friday to hear more.
What that means is you suddenly have this buffet of millions of learning content choices. I really strongly believe that doesn't solve the problem of learning. Because as a learner, today you have, you could go to YouTube and look at all the content there is or Google and find in the moment content that you need, right? So it's not like the choices are in any way prioritized or sequenced, or it's just too much and it's overwhelming. So when enterprises did that for, organizational learning, I feel like they, exacerbated the problem. So all of these different content aggregators that exist, they bring to bear, 30,000 learning content, 100,000 learning content, and everything is now available through this learning portal that, employees have to go in and, learn. And then they just step back. So there isn't a really guided approach. It's a little bit of, here's everything, go pick and choose. And I think that, when you look at the adoption rates of these types of learning content platforms, it's pretty dismal. It's, it's less than 10% if you really ask organizations and leaders on what kind of adoption they're seeing. It's very low. So my point of view on this is the value that enterprises bring is in helping employees understand what journey they need to take for the goal that they care about. So not all employees have the same goals, right? So there are employees, especially in certain functions, it's very common, like in sales and IT functions, there's a segment of employees that actually want to be a high performer in the role that they're in today. There are employees that want to be specialists in certain skill areas. Certain employees want to grow, right, and become a manager or leader. There are others that want to shift careers. So there's different goals different employees have, and I think the responsibility on enterprises is to personalize an employee's journey based on that goal. So what that could mean is, if they're looking to be an expert in a particular skill area, help them identify a specific a journey for new skills that are evolving in that area, increasing levels of proficiency from beginner to advanced, and actually help them take a more targeted journey over time. Someone that wants to become a manager or a better leader, take them on a journey of what sorts of leadership competencies and leadership behaviors they need to learn, and help them go on a journey around that. So it's less about access to millions of pieces of content. It's more about helping them understand where should they invest their time and effort, which is highly precious, on areas that are going to really move the needle and help them go from point A to point B.
It sounds like a real macro issue, not something that you can handle in little chunks. Is it within the realm of possibility for employers to actually accomplish some of this stuff?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, a lot of the work that we're doing now in Korn Ferry is to help do this at scale. So it's not an insurmountable problem, right? It's about organizing the content in a way that makes sense for the employee at the stage of career that they're in. So, you could have choices that are more adventurous and exploring, which I think exists today, right? You just have everything, you go in, search, it's like a Netflix of choices. There's so much content, just go, look for whatever you want. But I think that's more of a, it's more of a, you're shifting the decision and the effort of making the decision onto the employee. And I think just if enterprises and HR vendors, if we were able to frame that up as what are the goals and aspirations, and then lay out a path towards that, and show progress against that, and record it for the organization to see the value that this employee could bring in the future as they gather up more skills and learn something in a more targeted way, versus just being completely self-exploratory and doing a bunch of disjointed things, which are fine, which we all do, and we learn in a ad hoc manner. It's okay, but to really be able to drive, certain business priorities, you've got to be able to be much more thoughtful and planful about this. Let me give you an example, right? So many organizations today, let's say choose one or the other cloud technology. So, companies say we're going to move to Azure, or we're going to move to AWS. And many a times that's a significant transformation for the skill sets for IT and tech employees within the company. Now that is a business priority, but you need to then nudge all your people to start prioritizing or moving towards a particular cloud technology. And how do you do that without having some ability to explain to the employees that, here are the big trends in the market, here are our business priorities, here are key skills that you need to have over the next 2-3 years, which are good for you for being more marketable, but also good for our company. And then, provide a guided journey to the employees to go down that route. The way today, organizations do is there are some compliance trainings that are applicable to all, and everything else is, go ahead and explore and find what's relevant to you. I think we can do a much better job in organizing that at the employee level and sorting through that on their behalf and giving them something that's a little more guided and, more targeted towards certain objectives.
What you're talking about sounds very comprehensive, which means it's probably very expensive. From the financial point of view, how should a company approach this?
So I don't think that it's a lot of additional expense if they are able to make choices in the right solution. Because as I said, a lot of the focus on building these kinds of offerings is to do it at scale. So it's about putting the layer of, that experience, data science models to have very specific recommendations. So we are investing in technologies that can help scale this. So at a per person cost standpoint, it's not going to be much higher than what they're probably already spending on these, content aggregation platforms, but which is only solving the access to content problem, but not the problem of, helping with a guided journey or moving the needle from point A to point B. So I think it's more of a, depending on where the organization is, making the right choice on where they want to go. I don't think it's a lot of incremental spending. It's spending on the right things.
Purbita, thank you very much. It was great talking with you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My guest today has been Purbita Banerjee, Senior Vice President at Korn Ferry. And this has been People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. We're a publication of Recruiting Daily. We're also a part of Evergreen Podcasts. To see all of their programs, visit www.evergreenpodcast.com. And to keep up with HR technology, visit the HCM Technology Report every day. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.hcmtechnologyreport.com. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
The world's best-known investor and Wall Street expert Warren Buffett once said, "Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway." Mr. Buffett's quote is remarkably accurate, but how many people would rather receive advice from him than someone simply guessing? Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell, your single source for Wall Street knowledge and profitable guidance. Please join me, Todd Schoenberger, and fellow trader Tobin Smith, as well as host Veronica Dudo, for a podcast known to move the needle for investors. Tobin and I are seasoned Wall Street executives with deep investment experience, and we are prepared to share our advice to those who choose to listen. Download Buy, Hold, Sell today on the Evergreen Podcast Network or your favorite podcast channel.
Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion, whether you're 25, 85, or any age in between. Gain actionable financial and mindset tips from your favorite authors, podcasters, and influencers to help you reach that exciting next chapter. Listen now and start building your path to financial freedom and reframing what retirement can mean to you. This is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.